Before we get into the video, I just want to start by saying, in order for me to get this interview with Santa, I had to actually sign some legal documents that stated that I wasn't able to use any of his images of our recording in the final cut of the video. So what you will see is you'll see me talking, and then when you do hear Santa talk, you'll just see generic pictures of Santa. It's just one of the things that he asked for, and I respect that. You know, the guy's very busy at the moment, and I guess there's also a lot of what he does that he doesn't want too many people to see. So even though you won't be seeing Santa in this video, you will definitely still be hearing from Santa, the man himself. So welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. This week is a very, very, very special episode. Thanks to technology, we're able to communicate long distance. This particular person, I've tried really hard to sort of get in contact with, get the opportunity to sit down with them and just see how they're going. Probably one of the busiest people in the world come December time. But obviously he might be able to let us know if he's busy outside of December. So all the way from the North Pole, Santa, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I know you're a busy man and time is very precious for you, but thank you for coming on.
Oh, Merry Christmas there, Elliot, and it's always lovely. You know, you were always a good boy. I mean, sometimes, obviously, during the year, you weren't always good, but you always ended up on the nice list at the end of the year. So, Elliot, it is wonderful to speak with you today.
Once again, Santa, thank you so much for coming on. Now, December for you, a very busy time of the year. How are you at the moment with all the busyness?
I honestly, Elliot, I don't know how Mrs. Claus puts up with me. This is definitely the most stressful time of the year. But thankfully, I have many people to help. We have all the elves that have been doing such fantastic work all year in preparation for this month. We have Mrs. Claus who helps every single way that I can do my job. And everyone, there's so many good boys and girls out there. It makes my job that little bit much easier during this time of year.
And look, 2020 has been a bit of a strange year in the world. You've obviously observed from the North Pole. Has that sort of made things difficult for you with your job?
Well, you've been in this position for as long as I have. I guess you've really seen it all. So thankfully, it really hasn't affected us. The only thing it affected really was the ability for my elves to be able to do their job properly. Now, I don't know if you know this, Elliot, but every year, now this is a secret, okay? But I'm letting you know, as a special early Christmas present for all your listeners out there, every year I send my top elves to all the top toy factories all around the world. That way, they can learn how to make all the new toys for all the good boys and girls come Christmas time. That is one of our special secrets on how we get all those new stuff and how the elves learn every year. Now, obviously this year with, travel restrictions, it has been a little difficult for my elves, but thankfully with a bit of Santa magic, we've been able to get it done.
Oh, that's really good news, because one of the things I was worried about was how the events of 2020 might affect your job come Christmas time, because the last thing, I want to think about is little boys and girls, I guess, upset on Christmas Day that, they haven't got the things that they asked for.
Well, thankfully, the fact that I, Santa, lived in the North Pole, I've been quite sheltered from any of the blowback of this pandemic. So thankfully as well, the way I fly, reindeer style, I don't have to go through customs like the rest.
That's fantastic news. Sandra, this is a question I always think of come this time of the year and think about the job that you do. What's it like for you? You're coming from the North Pole, a very cold place. Coming to Australia at the moment, it's really hot at the moment. Um,
Hmm.
how is that for you? How are you able to adapt to the change of conditions?
Well, that is actually a very good question. I mean, everyone's seen in the picture books and the movies that a white Christmas, but in the reality, it's a very large world. I understand that Australia is just starting their summer, and what I like to do is I obviously take my coat off when I get to this area, but there's the little things that the children do that helps me at this time. For example, when I'm in the northern hemisphere in the colder weather, they leave me milk and cookies. Delicious by the fire. Really helps me keep my energy up while I'm going around dropping off the presents. Yet when I get to Australia, because it's so hot, and other countries like that, milk is probably not the best. You'd be amazed. I think it was probably around, this trend started maybe in the 1980s when young boys and girls would leave out pizza and soft drink, mostly Coca-Cola. Just, and I tell you what, after a long time of just cookies and milk, it's nice to change it up a little bit. Oh, you'd be amazed at how much that little bit of diet helps you out, just in between the balance in the weather.
Oh, that's really interesting insight because that's one thing I always think of, and I can imagine you coming to Australia where it's very hot, and how a refreshing Coke can actually can help you do your job a lot better.
Oh, most definitely. And just between you and me, after after all my job is done on Christmas Day, I like to come down to Australia, put on a pair of board shorts, and watch the Boxing Day Test match with the rest of you.
Oh, Santa, you're a bit of a cricket enthusiast, are you?
Well, at least for that time of the year, there's not much cricket in the North Pole, I must admit. The elves aren't too fond of it.
Oh, yes. Um, another question that I've got in regards to the current situation. A lot of people are in isolation. Someone like you, I guess isolation isn't new to you. Um, is there anything that you would probably give as advice for people who may be in situations where they've got to isolate themselves?
Look, that is a very, very good question there, Elliot, and it's a good one that I'd like to answer to help people stay on the nice list and not so much on the naughty list. Is understanding. Always understand. Sometimes you're not having the best of days. Well, if you're not having the best of days, there's a chance one of your loved ones or friends could not be having the best of days as well. So be understanding. Be understanding that we're not always our best, but we can always be better.
That's some great advice from a very, very wise man. Now, Santa, I've got a couple of kids on my own. Um,
Oh, I know that. Don't you worry about that, Elliot. I know about
yes.
your.
And, I'm always telling them about Santa, and I'm telling them about the naughty and nice list. Um, is it possible so late in the year for children who may, and not children, not just children, adults as well, for people who are on the naughty list, is it too late for them to get onto the nice list?
It's never too late. Have you ever heard of a Christmas miracle there, Elliot?
Yes, I
Even
have.
the children can have, as long as they have warmth in their heart. Do the right thing, and you can always find your way onto my list. Don't you worry. Hopefully, it's on the nice side, and you can always have a chance to get there. Because nobody wants to be on the naughty list. In fact, only, well, let's see, 2 years ago, I had to give my first bit of coal in a long time.
Ooh,
I was devastated to do it. However, the child was on the naughty list. It had to be done. So it is possible. But if you are good, good things come your way.
what would be your top tips for maybe some of the kids that are listening? for them to actually, sort of stay on that nice list coming up to this time of the year?
Well, number one, and this is the easiest and most important to do, listen to your parents. Number one, very, very simple. Number two, listen to your parents. It's that important, you need to do it twice. And number three is always be kind to others. That is the best Christmas gift you can always give. You do those three things, you will always find your way onto the nice list. But there's also a little secret. Now, I know I've given you one secret. I may as well give you a second secret. Why not? It's Christmas time.
Thank you, Santa.
Elliot, are you aware of the elf on a shelf?
Yes, I'm fully aware of Elf on the Shelf.
He's a delightful little character.
Yes.
Did you know that they're magic? Did you know that not only will he move around the house, but the elf on a shelf assists Santa? As we both discussed, it is the busiest time of the year. So the elf on a shelf is keeping an eye on the family. That's why he's always moving around the house to tell me if the children are still naughty or still nice, or vice versa, if they've been naughty and now they're being nice. The elf on the shelf uses his magic to move around the house and let Santa know.
There you go. Fully aware of Elf on the Shelf, and thank you so much for letting me know that, because it's really important that people who are listening understand the important job that the Elf on the Shelf does have. Santa is just one man. He doesn't have 1,000 eyes, and the Elf on the Shelf actually assists him in doing his job to the best that he can in order to get us our gifts come Christmas time.
Well, but beware, Elliot, beware. If a child shall touch the elf on the shelf, he will lose his magic for at least 24 hours and will immediately be put closer to the naughty list. As fun as he is, not a toy. I know he looks fun, but during the month of December, he is there surprisingly to work. So if you touch him, don't be surprised if he doesn't move overnight, because you've lost his magic.
Okay, so that's some very important information that the kids must listen to. The last thing you want to do is ruin that magic, because I guess if you do it more than once, not only are you going to be on the naughty list, but chances are, may not be able to report back to Santa to sort of let him know some of the good things that that you're doing as well.
Exactly. Very important. So all the parents out there, make sure you tell your children this, because they've got to remember the first two things about being on the nice list. Listen to your parents.
Yes, that's tip number 1 and 2, wasn't it?
Very important.
Look, just finishing up, I don't want to take too much of your time. Today, as we record this, the 1st of December here in Australia, Santa, Christmas, you mentioned watching the Boxing Day test when you come here to Australia. After all the craziness, what do you do to relax and, I guess, ease yourself after what can be, no doubt for you, a very busy period?
Well, first of all, even before we get to the Boxing Day test, Santa likes to throw a big feast for Mrs. Claus, the elves, and everyone on the North Pole, thanking them not only for their help during the year, but also our blessing for Christmas time. So that's what we first do. And obviously, the best Christmas present is always left for Mrs. Claus. Then the next day, that's when I try and relax. The board shorts, the singlet, all try and come out. Trying to get a tan from the North Pole is just not on. So that's why I have to come to Australia during this time. After that, I spend a little time just relaxing, watching the children enjoy what they've been able to we'll have fun with over the Christmas break. That's what brings Santa most joy.
That sounds good. Now, a lot of people probably think you only work in December. I get the feeling you don't just work in December, do you?
No, no, that's our most concentrated part. That is a common misconception. No, no, no. Santas are always looking out for young boys and girls. I'm trying to make sure we lean them in the right direction to be good for their mother and father, no matter what. And then they have been over the year, we get to do it Christmas Day, celebrate that with them.
That sounds great. Look, Santa, once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come on and chat and talk about your job, and I guess also trying to get some of the trying to get the boys and girls to understand the importance of listening to your parents, and how it's important to do that if you do want to stay on the nice list.
No, Elliot, it is always a pleasure. And you never know, one day maybe you can come and visit one of the toy factories from the elves. And if you've been really good, you might get that one-piece toy that I know you've been asking for.
Look, I wasn't going to ask because I don't want to be that person that gets the opportunity to talk to Santa and just wants to talk about himself. But I was going to ask, if I'm still going to get that one-piece figure. But thank you so much for giving me the bit of insider trading there.
Well, you still need to stay on that nice list. That's never count your chickens. Be good to your family, Elliot, and you'll see the fruit of your labor under the Christmas tree.
No worries. Santa, thank you once again, and good luck for Christmas, and I hope all goes well.
A Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
So there you go. Word from Santa himself. I hope you got something out of that, especially the kids. Some very important information in there. I also just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to anyone who may be watching or who has watched any of the videos. Really appreciate it. Hope you stay safe, and I'll see you in 2021.